Hello, it's Amy and Tim from Go With Less, and we are back for part whatever, I think it's part 12, from our How We Retired in Our 40s series. I, at this point, have left my job. Tim is still working. So what we're going to talk about today is the difference between a vacation before retirement and a vacation post-retirement, because we took a nice vacation to Maui as soon as I retired in July of 2015. And I do want to have a little side note that this is for sure July of 2015, and I retired in April of 2015. There's a possibility in the past video or two that I said 2014.
It's usually my job to mess up the dates, and so
That's right.
Amy's
I'm good at dates
stealing
usually
from me with this concept of messing
That's
up the
right.
dates.
And so as a retiree, I'm just going to say this like flat out. I have no idea what day it is. I usually have no idea what month it is. Some of you have seen this. But just so I don't know. I just need to know I need to get on the plane, and my calendar tells me what I need to know. But off the top of my head, I don't know what day this is. So if I said 2014, I apologize. But before I get into the difference of a vacation before and after retirement, Tim, you want to talk about frugal travel?
So I guess, as we've talked about quite a bit before, including our video yesterday, so travel is a passion that we have, and so the more cheaply we can travel, the more we can travel. And so
that includes points and miles.
That includes points
Being
and miles.
careful with that, just
points
like
and
money.
miles help us get further down the path and help us do more frequent travel. But also, when we have points and miles, we treat them just like cash. We have hundreds of thousands of points with various airlines. And so Amy and I had a conversation recently about potentially flying business class on this Europe trip that we're taking this summer. And so we looked at the points that it would take to actually to make business class travel happen. And business class was going to be probably double what a coach ticket would cost.
That's not okay. Hold on. So on our way home from Zurich, actually, so business class wasn't an option, but first class was, and it was more than 5 times the amount. So,
and by the way, if you don't know, so it goes business. Coach, business class, and then first class. So first class is even fancier.
It's fancier than business. But yeah, so we have talked about it. But if it's going to cost 5 times more than a one-way ticket, a one-way in for 10 hours, we ain't doing it.
So just like with our money, we treat points and miles similarly.
We evaluate.
That's right. As I mentioned before, we will spend quite a bit of time in the future talking about how you could potentially accumulate points and miles and potentially travel for free like us, and give you some strategy around that. That's exactly right. But anyway, so back to your trip. And so,
okay.
Is there anything else about frugal travel?
Well, maybe we'll see. And so let's get into this. So when I've been a salesperson for almost all my career, and in nearly every job that I ever had, if I was even able to take a vacation, which is a big if, here's a problem with being a salesperson. If your numbers are great, you can't take a trip because they incent you to stay. If your numbers are terrible, you better not take a vacation because you might get fired. So either way, you're kind of like messed up if you take a vacation. So you already had that. But then when I would be heading out on a trip, I would be at the office until like 11 p.m., midnight, tying up my loose ends, making sure that all my proposals were out, making sure that I had instructions for whoever was taking care of my business while I was gone, sending out emails, just doing everything I needed to do to be gone for however many days I was gone. So that was crazy. I needed to be home packing. Instead, I would get home at these ridiculous hours and then start packing and get up at some ridiculous hour for the flight, and it would kind of set a bad tone for the beginning of the vacation that I got on the plane with like 3 hours of sleep. That's not a good way to start a vacation. On the post side here, post vacation, retirement, I take the day before vacation now, and I block it out so we try not to do anything the day before vacation, so that it's kind of like we're not people, I know people pack like 2 weeks in advance. We took 10 trips last year. We're not packing 2 weeks in advance, or else all my stuff would be in a suitcase for the rest of my life. That doesn't work. It works, and also I have laundry and whatever, so I pack the day before a trip. So the day beforehand, we're doing all of our errands, we're doing laundry, we're packing. That works great. And so I could do it more leisurely, so I get to bed hopefully at a good hour, get up at a good hour. That was the pre-post retirement vacation. Then on the trip, so over my whole career, I didn't always have email my whole career. I'm almost 50, and email didn't exist when I was 25, at least not widely. And so I would check into my voicemail. I remember when my parents lived in Denver, when I still lived in New York City, I did business while I was there. And I remember working on a deal for days and days. Really, like I had long calls with the client and the management and all of that. And it turns out that deal never even happened. So I kind of sacrificed my trip for a deal that didn't even happen. So even though that still like is a memory that I still have, I kind of had to do it while I was traveling. So management would always say, go have a great time, but you better have your quota when you're back. And if I wasn't kind of checking in throughout the week, that would mean that when I got back and I needed to kind of hit the ground running, I would come back to a bazillion emails. Well, I didn't have time to be dealing with a bazillion emails. I needed to get back to selling. So again, the pre-retirement, post-retirement on the trip, one is working throughout the trip, one is just having a great old vacation. Then coming home from the trip, we often go to places that have time differences. So jet lag is I have a hard time with like daylight savings time, no joke. And so in 1 hour. So having the jet lag and having to go back into the office, having to like kill it at work because you've been out for a week or however long, that was a bad way to get back. So now I could just ease into the time a lot better and kind of go to the grocery store and get groceries, do my laundry. I don't have to be so hectic getting right back to work, and kind of taking away all those health benefits and that like relaxation benefits that I had from vacation. So our first big vacation after I retired was to Maui. We took our daughter. It was like a dream fabulous vacation in every single way, and the fact that I didn't have to work made it like the cherry on top. It was the cherry, the whipped cream, the sprinkles, and the nuts. So it was more than the cherry. But you have a travel hack for Maui?
I do. So we have before we leave here, I wanted to just run by you one quick travel hack. So when we were there for Maui, so when we were there, we stayed in Kihei, which is adjacent to Wailea. And
Wailea is very fancy resorts. Kihei is where like a lot of the locals live.
That's right. So we had an Airbnb, so we weren't staying in a hotel, and so every day most days we would drive up to Wailea and we would actually go to the beach there. We would walk along in front of all the fancy properties. We would just have a walk as our entertainment for the day.
No. It wasn't our entertainment for the day. It was our exercise. We actually had plenty of entertainment for the day that wasn't just a walk. Yes. We had tons and tons of entertainment
for the day.
Right. That was our exercise.
Something that I wanted to do in Hawaii, because this was the first time I was there with my family. I'd been there for business before, but I wanted to participate in a luau. And so Amy had been there eons ago and had actually been to a luau, and she said it just wasn't worth it. So they serve you poi, which is disgusting. And
I was a vegetarian at that time, so I'm not eating the roast pork, the kalua pork.
That's right. And so everything about it
is
very expensive, so it just wasn't something
touristy.
that Amy was willing to sign up for. Again. And so I said, okay, well, no big deal. Well, one of the things that we noticed is as you walk along the beach in Wailea, all the fancy properties that are there, they have their luau's like right on their property facing out to the ocean. And so you can just walk by and you can watch the luau in progress from the sidewalk that runs in front of these properties. And so there's lots of people just walking along on the sidewalk. And so this isn't something you're not going to be some standout
You're not
weirdo.
Arrested for this.
That's right. Watching the free luau. So if you can avoid the poi or you don't care about the poi,
no one cares about the poi,
then this is a great way to experience a luau for free. So that's my travel hack.
Yeah, that's a great one. And so we're going to leave it at that. If you like what you hear, please leave a thumbs up. Please subscribe and leave a comment. We reply to everything.
Thank you.